Now, give us an update on the red heifers. I know we talked about this last time, and of course, you have a book that you have written in reference to this, but give us an update as to what is happening, because last I heard, they were supposed to sacrifice the red heifer soon.
Yes.
Real soon. So what's happening with that?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because, back in September 15th of 2022, the 5 red heifers landed in Israel, and they were just under a year old. And when that happened, that's what caused me to say, you know what, I want to write a book about this, not only the biblical background, the theological background, the historical, even this current situation. I wrote about the entire search for the red heifer, brought in the Jewish rabbinic sources, because there's a lot of confusion because, we're Christians. We believe the Bible only is the authority. We're Jewish people, and the rabbis in particular, they don't. They believe the Bible and their tradition. And so most people will go, well, what is that about? It appears all through the Gospels, the oral tradition, Matthew 15 and other passages. But my goal is to say, okay, if you want to understand this prophetically, this is what the Bible says, and to give the entire background. So that's what I did in the book. But one of the other things, there's so much confusion right now because people are out there saying I would say inaccurate things. So let me tell you at least my sources, okay? Mm-hmm. So I had a chance to spend 4 hours with a guy named Robert Mawiri down in just west of Dallas, and he's the guy that had the rabbis. So when people see the rabbis, there's pictures of them, and he said, I was in his office, and I said, I'd like to interview you to get the sources for all of how this happened. And so he was gracious enough to give me an interview. And I recorded the whole thing, so I didn't miss anything. And he goes, Mondo, the rabbis were sitting in those exact chairs right there. Right. So what this means is I'm talking to ground zero. This isn't second information. Okay, I'm getting and so he gave me the birth dates of the cows. He was there. He goes, Mondo, I saw the cows. One of them I saw being born. I was out in the field. So there's been confusion to the age, and so I'm giving you firsthand information here. And October 5th through the 12th of 2021, they were born. So that means in October of 2023, they became 2 years old. And the other thing too that is confusing is in the Bible, it talks about taking a cow, a parah, not a calf, a cow. Well, in Jewish thinking, a cow is 3 years old. Okay. Well, for me, or for Americans, we tend to think that, well, that's 36 months. But that's not the way it works in the Jewish rabbinic thinking. As soon as you get to be 24 months, you're 2 years old now, and then you're starting your 3rd year.
Okay.
So really what it's saying, what they mean is you need to take a cow in its 3rd year. So what they've said is, in order to make sure, in Jewish sources, it'll say, well, it's 2 years and 1 month, 2 years and 8 days, 2 years and 1 month. So they've decided when you get to 2 years and 1 month, you are now officially a month into your 3rd year. Maybe there's a little confusion about the birth date. So if we wait an extra month, now we know you're in your 3rd year. So that 2 years and 1 month happened around November 20th of last year.
Right.
So that being the case, they became of age. So there are others, again, well-known people that are saying they're not old enough yet. Well, it's just not true. Their sources aren't correct. And if we go even on some of the like the Temple Institute page, the Temple Institute Facebook page, they're also talking about them. I'm surprised that some of them, at least the commentators, they have the dates wrong. I mean, I have the date of the birthday, so people can just calculate it out if they want. Yeah. So some people are saying that they're not old enough until Passover. They became of age in November. Now, so that to me, not even to me, according to the people I know, of course, there's another gentleman who works for Bonai Israel, or who works with them, who is the organization that brought the cows over. He's like, no, Mondo, he confirmed for Mondo, those dates are accurate. Because I said, hey, look, I'm out here talking. Can you confirm? He said, those dates are accurate. And he was there, again, organizing this. Right. He's organizing all of the care of the cows now. So that being the case, if people hear anything and say they're not old enough, it's just not true. Second thing is that what he told me as well is that one of the cows has been 100% disqualified.
Oh, okay.
3 are still qualified, meaning they have all their red hairs and they're fully qualified, not only by the red hair that they still have, but also of age. So they are qualified right now. They could actually go do the ceremony right now. They didn't need to wait till Passover, but they wanted to do it originally to coincide it with one of their major feasts, which is, I respect that. It's their decision. The fourth cow is still qualified. It's just not as red. And so they're like, well, if we're going to choose one, we probably wouldn't choose that one. We would choose one of the other ones that are more red. But even on the Temple Institute Facebook page, they're saying there's only 3 qualified, when in fact, again, the guy who's taking care of the cows is telling me that no, there is a 4th one. It's just not as red. So originally, this is the interesting thing. What we're dealing with, I mean, things are changing week by week. So even though we talked in January, this gentleman was telling me, hey, Mondo, pray for me because we're trying to work out this ceremony that we want to have in the window of Passover, which is April 22nd, to Shavuot, or the Feast of Weeks. The Shavuot on the Hebrew calendar, not on like the Feast of Weeks in Pentecost on the Christian calendar. So that is June 12th. So you have this window. It doesn't need to happen then. That's just when they wanted it to happen. And so at the time, the Israeli government was very eager to give them their permits to do this. Well, that has changed now. And so even when we talked prior, we know that Hamas has come out and said that they mentioned one of the reasons, they didn't need a reason, but one of the reasons for their attack on October 7th was because of the red cows. So they mentioned the red cows. So that has caused kind of a stir within the Israeli government, because they know that they need to get the job done as it relates to Hamas. They know they have this increased pressure, not only from the United States, which is their biggest backer, and other European countries, but they have it from the United Nations. So now what this gentleman in Israel told me was, he said, Mondo, the Israeli government now is 100% firmly against giving permission for the ceremony to happen on Passover.
Oh, interesting.
So that has changed. And so, and even back then when you and I talked, I mentioned that I don't think they could do it public. It would be foolish in my mind, but I'm nobody to give advice, but it would stoke this fire that's already there. And the properties on the property that they own is on the Mount of Olives. So it's right near the Silwan, which is a very large Palestinian area. So to have this cow burning and this bonfire of smoke would draw attention. So I always felt that they would do it privately, record it, and then share it publicly. Now, I could be wrong, but I was saying that more just for security reasons. But it is official now, according to the people in the scene, that the Israeli government is against this. Now, what does that mean? We don't really know. There really is no time limit necessarily on the age of the cows. The rabbis in the Mishnah talked about in your 4th year or even up to your 5th year. So that could be all the way up until, they were 6 years old. So that's a couple years out. The drawback is that the longer you wait, the more risk that you have for other non-red hairs to grow. So the key, very technical detail is you can't have more than one non-red hair in a single follicle. You can have other non-red hairs, but if you have a red hair and a black hair, that's fine. But if you have more than one black or more non-red in that single follicle, then that cow is disqualified. Wow. So they're down. That's why you see them down there with magnifying glasses. Yeah. The other thing that happened recently, and my last comment on this, is that CBS News came out with a video last couple of weeks. They were interviewing Yitzhak Mamo, who's one of the rabbis who was in Texas. They're interviewing him on the site of the property that Bonei Israel owns on the Mount of Olives. And so you see them there, and it's like, yeah, this is where we want to have the ceremony. Well, then what they did is they brought out this footage. They played this video of this huge altar, and they said, this is the altar that was built for the red heifer, which is an absolute lie. In fact, we, through some sources in Israel, took that picture, shared it with some people, and they said, no, that altar was built back in the late 1990s, back south of the Dead Sea. And it was built as a practice for the priests, and it was an altar that was built for the temple, for the coming temple that they know. It was not built for the red heifer at all. And even when I saw it, I'm like, that's way too big for that piece of property to be there. And it's not designed in a way for the red heifer. The red heifer's ceremony is way different because it's done outside and not on the Temple Mount. So here again, people have to be super, super discerning, because CBS News, even their video that they did, people can find it. It was very slanted. You could tell there was this anti-rabbinic tone to it.
Mm.
And so they bring out this footage from 25 years ago and they pass it off. And I think it was meant to be inflammatory because, again, CBS, you can tell that they were trying to stoke the flames of I would say world opinion against Israel.
Wow.
And you could see that there, and that truly would, to say, look at what Israel's doing. They're disrupting the status quo. And so again, they bring out this video from 20 years ago, and it was a lie. And so at the end of the day, people need to be very, very careful.
Yeah.
And to make sure they have the right sources and not just to pass it off. Because when I saw that picture, I was like, And thankfully, I called Tom Hughes, who is in Israel right now, and I said, hey, I know you're in Israel. I'm going to give you the address. I'll give you the coordinates of the property because I know where it is on the Mount of Olives. I said, can you go over there and confirm this? Because there's no way that altar is there. And so later I said, hey, we can confirm that was a lie. But if you want to see the property, here it is, and check it out anyway. But there's a lot of lies going on, as we know. And there's a lot of misinformation, as well as, in this case, CBS giving disinformation.
Yeah. And that's unfortunate. It's almost like nowadays we can't even trust what we see on TV, honestly, because everything is so one-sided, right? And it's unfortunate. It's like you said, you have to have discernment, you have to know your word, because if not, then you could be swayed or persuaded into a direction that it doesn't really come in line with the word of God.
And I would say this too. And look, I have failed on this myself because, I feel like a reporter at times in sharing things with people. And when I see it, like that picture, that video that came in, I took a snapshot of the picture. I sent it to a few people. I said, hey, look at this. I go, don't share this with anybody because I haven't vetted it yet. But I was so tempted to get it out there and say, hey, everybody, look at what Israel's built. I mean, here's this altar. And I'm thankful to the Lord that I didn't do that, but the temptation was there. It wasn't even like, it was more a matter of, I was excited to share this.
Yeah.
But what I tell people, be careful what you share, because myself included, we can be part of the problem in just sharing information that we did not vet ourselves.
Right.
Because again, you think you could trust CBS.
Yeah.
No. The journalism, true journalism is dead. I mean, for the most part, especially from the mainstream media.